you not to call me. Your voice won't control me. I try to drink you away. You're always hanging me over. I knew you'd try to find me. I really wasn't hiding. You've got my back to the wall.
Welcome to the GSL Code A. I'm Wolf, and of course with me is Caldor today. We are in our second set of matches today. I guess you could call it the afternoon session. You could call it 3-2. This is not a Super Mario World, though. This is the GSL. How are you doing?
I'm actually doing really well. We had straightforward games today in our in our morning group. It was actually, I think, all of them were 2-0s, weren't they?
Yes, they were all very quick matches, except the last one, I guess, was more normally timed, but the rest of them were pretty short.
Especially live, kind of impressed, surprised. I don't know what you want to call it, but it was really an interesting series that we saw featuring live. And well, today's afternoon matches are going to be great as well. We have our starting match, which is going to be live against First. I guess we're going to have a look at the matches shortly. And the winner prediction.
Yeah, make sure you guys check out the winner prediction. Go and vote so that you can pop those up on the screen and see who really is the fan favorite. Because sometimes I'm a little bit surprised, actually, to see who's voting, who's tweeting. You can tweet at us at Caldor and at ProxyWolf and at GOMTV. Tweet your predictions as well. Be checking those. If the game's already started, don't tweet us your predictions because that's kind of weird. Don't do that.
I would be surprised, though, if we had another fan favorite than Alive in the first series. He is up against First. We're going to see a Terran versus Protoss in game number 1. But there are a lot of really good players in today's afternoon group. We have July, we have Lenok, and we also have Polt, for example. And especially the game that we are going to see later on between Tails and Lenok. That's going to be a good one.
We also have, for example, Yoda is going to be playing. He's been in the GSL before. He fell out. He's been back in. Did really well earlier on in his career. And we're going to take a look, of course, at our results from last week. This is round 1, day 2-1. That was last weekend. Vampire beating Boom Boom. JYP taking out Mia. And, well, the rest of those results, I didn't even say fast enough.
Lion defeated Crank. Hack advanced over Lucira. We had Zenio falling short to Hyun, who has to face a Sniper next week. And Allure was not successful against Heart, as you can see.
Yep. A lot of controversial comments about Heart's 2-Rex proxy in that game. And here we go. These are the matches from earlier today, so if you don't want them to be spoiled, then cover your ears because the results are about to pop up on screen. We already talked about the matches a little bit, but the results, in fact, are...
I'm not quite sure if we see them.
No, we're not. We're going to look at interviews instead.
신상호입니다. 오늘 김현목 선수와 테란전 경기가 있었는데요. 이 경기를 지면은 코드비 예선으로 가기 때문에 진짜 악착같이 열심히 준비해서 좋은 결과가 있었다고 생각합니다. 그리고 앞으로도 꼭 코드 S 갈 수 있도록 최선을 다할 테니까요. 많은 관심 응원 부탁드립니다. 감사합니다.
안녕하세요. 푸나틱 팀의 프로토스 김학수입니다. 제가 오랜만에 코드 A에서 경기를 펼치게 됐는데 예선으로 떨어지는 줄 알고 좀 걱정을 하긴 했는데 제가 질 곳이 아니라는 걸 보여주기 위해서 열심히 준비했는데 무난히 승리한 것 같아요. 코드에서 빨리 복귀해서 좋은 경기 보여드리도록 하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
Well, pretty standard interviews there from Summerwares. Now our results, of course, will be shown in full. Actually, no. Not today. I'm actually just I'm just all over the place wrong with predicting what screens.
Is that really Alive? I mean, I've seen Alive, but that doesn't look like Alive, does it?
No, not really. He looks a little bit different today. There's a surprise. Yes. I'm not going to talk about it until we actually get to see his face.
Oh, you will talk a lot about it. I know that for sure.
I definitely will. But of course, First playing over there on the right side on the team LGIM. And he just came up from Code B, making his second appearance in the GSL. I believe this guy used to be Nuts. I am Nuts. So he's famous for getting his entire army nuked by Boxer in a former Code A match from a long time ago last year. But he's a decent Protoss. I mean, the matches we saw of him in the qualifiers, he looked really good. And I'm looking forward to seeing how much he's improved. But he's got a tough opponent in Alive, man. It's going to be really hard.
Yeah, Alive is eating Protoss for breakfast. And this guy is so good. He won IPL over Squirtle. And, well, IPL 4 that is. And he has been playing really well ever since. Maybe not on exactly the same shape. He fell from Gerace when he was not able to make it in Code S, but still. Yeah. Very strong player that First has to meet here.
Well, we're going to go ahead and get to talk about what I wanted to talk about earlier, but couldn't because he wasn't on camera. In just moments, you'll see that Alive has changed his hair back to black.
Back to black, and I asked him why, and he was like, yeah, bad color, bad color.
I completely disagree. I think he looks so good in his Fnatic colored hair. Honestly, I just thought it looked so good on him. Yeah, he still looks good with his dark hair, but I really think the light color was so good for him, especially with the way it brings out his uniform and his glasses. Now he just looks a little bit too dark.
I have to admit that he looks a little bit weird with the black hair. Maybe I have to get used to it once again.
No, see, that's actually...
I liked him with the orange
That's
hair.
actually you having some hair fashion sense, Caldor. I'm really proud of you. That's actually what you're really feeling. All right, we're going to jump into Alive versus First. The first map is going to be Daybreak. The wait is over. This is the GSL Code with Caldor and Wolf.
So get ready, get set, let's go!
And here we go, map number 1 in our first best of 3 of the day here at the round of 48 at GSL Code. To the bottom left of the map, in the red, we have the one and only
Fnatic Alive.
back to black with his hair color. No more orange for this guy.
Well, he'll change it back one day if he comes to his senses.
He said earlier that he was a little bit tired. And while he's facing a Protoss player starting to the top right in the blue, starting for LGIM, we have
LGIM First.
You know, I really was so happy when we were in the makeup room together, Caldor, and I noticed Alive the second he came in, I noticed his hair was black, and I was about to ask him, and you asked him, and I was like, Caldor!
Yeah, it rubs off by now. I'm brainwashed.
Well, I don't know if it's brainwashed or...
Oh, it is.
or if it's just that you're starting to learn the ways of appreciating that stuff that's on top of most people's heads.
Most people, not mine though.
Well, you have some, actually. A little bit. That's your choice. You choose to remove it. I bet one day... Well, I'm not going to make any bets on this, actually. I'm just going to leave fate to the side what your hair will one day be.
Short. Very, very short.
Well, I know what your next hairstyle is going to be, I guess, for now, but maybe one day you'll change your ways. The world is waiting for that. At this point, we are going to have a 1-Rax expand from Alive, which is actually, you know, normally it's like probably, I would say 65 to 70% of people still do this build on this map, but 35 on the, I guess the lowest point, 30% of people are doing Command Center first on this map against Protoss.
I'm really sad that Alive changed his way, changed his opening, especially on Daybreak, where he usually started with the second barracks to the right, just to give him a little bit more flexibility.
He might still do it though.
It's already
It's
too
really
late.
late, yeah, but okay, so he's just going to scout with
I
this
loved
SCV.
his build. I loved this, and he had so many opportunities with this. It just opened up a whole new different set of tactics that he could go for, a whole new set of strategies. It's a little bit sad that he changed it, but this is, of course, the standard style. It's a lot more common, a lot safer as well. Well, maybe not safer, but at the same time, he has a better economy. But I like that he tried to mix it up a little bit.
And he's going for, by the way, CC before 2nd Marine, a slight variation. Most people do it this way, but some people like to get the 2nd Marine.
Nah, I love the engineering bay
Yeah,
at
eBay
the
block.
Protoss player space. And even though we have the Chrono Boost right now, this engineering bay is actually getting close to finish. This will be so annoying for First.
Yeah, he doesn't even know, and he's about to know.
He skipped the Zealot, and this is
Yeah.
really...
When you skip the Zealot, it takes so much.
Yeah. He even escapes with this SCV, and now you can already see that this one single Stalker will take ages to take down the engineering bay. And
don't
this
know
is
what
the
that
most
probe-
annoying thing. This like,
That probe wasn't even helping out for most of the time, man. That's actually a shame, because the probe does add about 5 damage to this. Oh, he's going to use this time to get the SCV into scout. Oh, he attempts to. But guess what? Even if he denies the SCV does not see the second gas, but
once
he
again,
denied the Stalker from attacking the engineering bay, which delays the Nexus further.
exactly. So this is like the perfect opening for Alive. Getting this engineering bay to such an extent, this is actually really great. And now look at that. We have suddenly First trying to mix it up a little bit, not only going for the Nexus, but actually throwing down a Twilight Council.
This is so smart, because he knows the SCV didn't see a second gas, and he knows that now he has 2 Stalkers out. He actually can deny scouting 100%, because there's no way for Alive to get in with the SCVs going, or with the Stalkers going around. Because He's got 2 of them positioned on the map, even has the probe.
Here we have the map win rate, which is a little bit, well, I don't know. It's alive with his 4 wins and his 3 losses, and first not.
Well, you could say it's a first for him today. Dark Shrine going down here.
Dark Shrine is not really a surprise here with first starting with his Twilight Council. The Dark Shrine is obviously something that he had in mind after he realized that his expansion will be blocked for an eternity. And as Wolf already pointed out, without a scan there is no way that Alive gets any scouting information out of the town, the Protoss player's base.
He's sending another SCV to scout. He's lost about 3 of them already. He's going to lose a 4th one because the Stalker's going to see the SCV with the Watchtower. And do you think he's going to let that SCV in there?
Nah, probably not.
I think not. He's going to see the Nexus, which is going to be actually what he wants him to see.
The big question is how much damage will he actually do with his DT? So far we don't have a missile turret, but he has the engineering bay, if I'm not mistaken. He built it earlier.
That was the eBay block.
Was that still the eBay block? Didn't he build one after that? No, apparently he didn't, you're right. So he doesn't have an engineering bay, he can't build any missile turrets, and therefore he has to rely on the 2 command centers and the energy.
And the pylon that he built to warp the DTs in was just outside of range of the Watchtower. And he sees no turret. That's such a smart scout, by the way. I love that. He checks the probe, sees no turret. Now he's like, sick. I guess I just can warp in 3 DTs.
How much energy does he have on those 2 command centers?
He has 71 on one, and the other has 46. So
2
he will
scans.
have 2, nearly 3.
And here come the DTs. Does he realize it?
Yep.
Yeah, immediately scans.
Oh, that was actually a shame by both of them. The scan could have potentially missed, but then he didn't. Oh, he's gonna... Oh!
Chases him away, but really well done. He immediately raises his depot, and therefore not a lot of damage potential here. The second DT dies as well, and of course the engineering may by now not only started but nearly finished. So now he can set up the missile turret, and first invested a lot of resources into this and did not deal any damage to his opponent at all.
Scan is going to be ready, but he used 3 scans.
Yes, that's right. He used the 3 scans, but still, if you think about all the gas that he invested, not only into the DTs, but at the same time, of course, also in the tech itself, that wasn't, well, could have been worse, but still.
Oh, he's going to warp in even another one to actually kill this Marine.
A little bit too late. Pylon's going to die. Nonetheless.
Yeah, he's going to use this DT to be annoying later. He also has a Warp Prism, which he can use to lift that 1 DT. He can also warp in additional DTs with the Warp Prism. This is Artosis' worst nightmare. This is a DT drop at the 10-minute mark. The Warp Prism, though, however, may be spotted by these 2 medevacs and or the Factory.
I think the Factory will spot it. Yeah, there it is. Factory has a quick look. One of the fastest scouting units in the game.
Yeah.
Faster than an Overlord.
It's actually true. And he's going to see everything, actually. He could kill a Warp Prism if he wanted to, but...
On the other hand, First also sees the medevac, so he knows that there is some kind of drop play ahead at his base, and he can defend accordingly. Right now we have the additional gateways being produced for First, who still tries to make this DT drop happening. He's a little bit optimistic in his movements here, but realizes that he has to pay close attention to the Warp Prism, therefore moves it back as soon as he spots those Marines.
Yeah, he forced the stem, which will take some energy, but not too significant.
Yeah.
And, you know, he has very few units out, actually. In total, he's got 5 Stalkers and a Sentry besides the DT.
Another problem for him is that he's currently on the same amount of workers as Alive, and you never want to be on the same worker count as a Terran player, because he still has those mules, and Alive definitely with a better economy here. They are both on 2 base, both trying to get their upgrades into the game. Of course, Alive also still on Medivac production, because he wants to get a lot of Vikings out to support his bio army. When he spots this tech switch from First, when he spots that he's facing Colossi, then he will definitely start to use to build some Vikings. And not only Medivacs, but right now, well, he has to get out of here.
Yep. Nice dodge there on the Colossus beams.
There's no blink at this point, so he can't blink after the Medivac. The Medivac is still safe. And it was really well done. He did a little bit of damage, he took down one of the Stalkers, but then as soon as the Colossi appeared, he loads all of the Marines back into the Medivac and gets out of there. There's always the potential of Alive now just heading for the main base, killing another DT in the middle of the map. The Zelnaga tower was taken by First, but Alive with a good scan here.
Alive taking a supply lead. The upgrade advantage heavily in first favor, and he has powered up some gateways and is getting even more right now. So this supply advantage is going to change very rapidly as the production starts to heat up for first. He spent most of his resources on his tech, but now he's kind of switching things up. This double drop, though, is out of range of the Stalkers.
Nice, this is exactly what we talked about earlier, the double drop, and he can snipe the Colossus, and he does! The Colossus comes out of the Robo, he takes it down, well played. He's losing a lot here though, he's trying to escape with the medevac, but that is not gonna happen.
You know, that was a fairly even trade to sacrifice all those units for the Colossus. Fairly even. You know, in some ways, it's like kind of lucky the Colossus came out at that moment to help deter the drop, but on the other hand, he lost the Colossus, so it's all about what you value, really. And if he's going to switch very soon out of Colossi, then this is good, but since he's not, he's actually just starting that extended thermal lance.
Yeah, a little bit late. I was wondering earlier why he was about to skip it, so after the, I think that's the third Colossus, that's actually just, I know it's actually Colossus number 2. He starts his extended thermal lance, starts +2/+2 as well, and Alive now with a confident supply lead. Is on, I think, +1 attack, not +2, and he's only getting the +1 armor, so right now, first already a little bit ahead in upgrades.
Yeah, he's about to be 2-2 versus 1-0.
Yeah.
And that's going to be horrible. The Colossus production has been stifled, by the way. He's starting charge, and he's still getting Thermal Lance, so he's going to have Thermal Lance for 1 Colossus.
This third base is also a little bit of a stretch right now, because Alive has a really strong army, and even though he's behind in upgrades, the damage potential that he has, especially when it comes down to slow burst, is enormous. The force fields are not perfect, they're decent, but they're not blocking the ramp.
Alive may just kill him here, that damage output is too much.
It's just too much that he has. The supply advantage that he has is really coming into play here. And now even the Vikings are in assault mode as they have no victim in the air anymore. There is no Colossus, and here's the desperation move, pulling those probes. He's losing way too much here.
He will hold, but yeah, he has lost way too much. And he's still going to lose a few more Stalkers. I respect Alive's decision not to retreat here.
You're perfectly right. He holds, but at what cost? He has still 61 to 61 harvesters, but he lost 11. And this is really a bad blow to his economy. But still, he has the third base up. That's the one thing that Alive didn't scout. He didn't actually look. I think if he spotted it,
he doesn't know. He doesn't even check with his factory, which is a bit disappointing. And you know, it's funny because First would almost be crazy to have a third base right now, but that's what makes this really successful for him, because if Alive knew, he would have killed it easily. And now the upgrade advantage is still in first favor, and that's really what allowed him to hold that base. He lost his Colossus. He's trying to get a second one out right now. The Ghost Academy is already here. +1 for ships is on the way.
But if you think about it, it's actually funny. This expansion was a little bit of a stretch for the reasons that we pointed out. But at the same time, without this expansion, he would have been in a much worse position right now, because he has more chrono boosts, he has more production capabilities for workers, so it's easier for him to close the gap in worker count. Really well. It's actually it's lucky for him right now. It's really something that plays into his hands.
It's absolutely lucky, and it's ironic even, I would say. Right now there's Alive moving a small force around to the natural. Well, he knows first has spotted his drop, and most of his units are at the third, so he has to be very careful how he balances where his units are. His supply is even right now. Units lost fairly even as well, surprisingly. So you just check that, and it's like basically 300 units different.
The problem though is that the economy, that the tech is much better for Alive if you disregard the upgrades. He has Ghosts already as a follow-up. He also has the Viking count, so that's something that first has to face very, very soon. And we have 5 Vikings against 2 Colossi. He has Ghosts on his way, and these are all things that are problematic for first. He's just now getting his Templar Archive, and everything except the upgrades itself. First is a little bit behind, so he needs to be really careful how he's going to engage the next battle, because Alive will have a unit composition that is very, very difficult for him to engage.
Yeah, you're right. And as far as, because of mules, the faster third base for first has been kind of neglected. Alive's already mined as much minerals as first has. I just checked. I mean, they're both patches are about 1250 to 1300 per patch left on the minerals, so you can see just how much those mules really help, how quickly you can mine a base. The worker count right now, 74 to 61 in first favor, but with the mules, like I said, it's just insignificant. 4th command center going up now for Alive. Alive just has to be careful not to lose a key engagement, then he can get his way back into this game supply-wise. Once his upgrades even up as well, he's going to be in a great shape. But for the time being, he has to be careful.
Storm is being researched now for first, who wants to have additional area of effect damage in addition to his Colossi count. and that is something that Alive has to be afraid of. But with the Ghost that he already has, they are getting energy as we speak, and everything is just so fast for him. Even the second starport, which I love, he can definitely afford it at this point, and this will make it easier for him to build something against anti-air if you realize that the Colossus count is higher than expected. So a very nice decision here by Alive, who is also getting a 4th command center as First takes his 4th base. And First now finishing +3/+3s, going straight into the shield upgrades. This is going to be a really nice end engagement. Both of them are roughly the same supply.
Yeah, I'm not sure if First should engage here though. He's down 30 supply in army, and also the way he has no concave setup is really scary. Alive's concave is going to fan out a lot better here. He's already starting to damage these Colossi. These have ship weapons +1. Well, that Observer got EMP'd so fast, couldn't even think.
Nice position here for the Vikings. They can just always snipe those Colossi. It's a great position to be in. If there are no storms, then he will be able to snipe every single Colossi, and there they are. Now one Colossi dies. Now he tries to get into position with those High Templar, but Alive once again is shifting patterns. He's going for the natural once more, trying
by the way,
to just posture.
First has killed a ton of SCVs over here, and is going for more. Sorry to cut things off there.
Well, he killed 6 so far.
Okay, so not as bad as it could have been. Well, he's killing a few more.
Yeah, he's focusing the SCVs right now, so he's definitely making this work. 14 in total.
Oh, this is a great position for the Pros to engage if he can fan out. And he does. This is not good for Alive. Most of his units not able to really get up here, and Storms are going to be brilliant, but he only gets 1. There's no more energy here.
That Storm was actually horrible. It only was designed to hit those Vikings, and the Vikings nearly did all the damage that they need to do.
Oh,
this is a good Storm.
Yeah,
here we
that's
go.
what he needs right on the ramp.
Now we're talking.
And he's got a better upgrades than his opponent, 3-3 versus 3-2, and the Colossus doing some insane damage right now. The Archon blocking the ramp.
I really was afraid for a second that First would actually botch this. The position, as you already said, was horrible for Alive, but without the storms on the ramp into the choke point, that was something that he needed to do, and without it, there was a very high chance that Alive with his DPS could actually take down First's army.
Exactly. With no storms, the Zealots can't fight there.
Yeah,
but if you have storms, then you just do the damage anyways.
Yeah, and then suddenly those Vikings, well, they die, the Colossus as well, but with the storms, the Templar having enough energy, he can storm into the choke point, and Alive was not prepared for this. I actually don't know why he didn't just kill the rocks. That would have at least given him a little bit of space to maneuver.
Or, you know, I'm a little bit surprised with his medevacs he had vision of the Vikings as well, where the Pros army was. That was a terrible idea to try to fight there. I think just retreating in general would have been a better choice. Let's be honest, though. First got away with the 3rd base, and he got away with the 4th as well. Alive did not scout it, did not respond, and tried to fight at the natural rather than trying to go for the 4th base where he could have easily taken it, or he could have even sent a drop there. He did neither, and so first got away with his 3rd base, and then secondly got away with his 4th, and without any pressure from Alive, and that's just very unfortunate, you know? He didn't expect him to take this kind of risk.
But still, the army that Alive actually had with 30 additional army supply was in a position, well, not the position they attacked in, but just in general, he definitely had the army supply and the army composition that he needed in order to make First's life really miserable. But then he decides to attack into this weird position that didn't make any sense. And I thought that First was actually in he would lose a lot more than he actually did, because he did not use those storms. He completely neglected them. I guess that the Templars were out of energy.
Yeah.
But then he stormed the choke point, and Alive lost everything. The one thing that just can't wrap my thoughts around is why exactly Alive would fight in a position like this. If you storm up the ramp and position yourself on the high ground, this I can get. You take a gamble and you really hope that your opponent is not force fielding you. But as soon as you're on the high ground, it's like, okay, well, I made that work. I don't know how, but I'll capitalize on it. But him staying on the ramp? Why would he do that?
That was a big mistake. And look at this, just using these DTs consistently, forcing scans. He forces a scan over here, but there's DTs in the main. He killed the turret. He could go for the Ghost Academy. Looks like he's going to go for depots instead. He can do whatever he wants with this DT. He's forcing more scans. He's killing the armory, or attempting to. +2 shields is almost done for First right now. Alive is still hanging in here for being basically half of his opponent's supply for a while, but how much longer can he hang in there? Another DT going to the 3rd base. I mean, this is starting to get disastrous. All he has to do now is finish him.
Bottom right, though, there's a big drop happening right now, and I think he might be able to take the base out. Yes, indeed he does. Oh no, there comes another round of Warpins. Maybe the Zealots are enough to take him down. I actually don't think so. Maybe with the Archon that he's currently morphing, he will have a chance here. But he has to focus the Nexus if he wants to take it down. The problem is that right now he's attacking the 3rd of Alive, and Alive just doesn't have anything here. Even all the SCVs are dead. They are all died within instance Harvesters. The 17 against 70 Harvesters. This is wow.
Yeah,
really
and
bad
Alive
for
is
Alive.
so worried about that. He's not controlling his drop at the base, so he's not even going to kill that expansion. He's being defended over there, and everything is just going wrong.
Well, he's basically killing everything at the expansion. The Archon just now died as well, and every single unit that he warps in has the problem that they have to engage in the mineral patches, which is not a good thing to happen. Now, finally, the Zealots are able to close the distance. But I don't think it matters anymore, because First is now just trying to bully his way up the choke point at Alive's natural, and with the Storms that he uses against Alive once again, the Protoss player isn't, the Terran player is in a really tough spot.
First remaking a lot of probes right now, making 5 at a time in fact, but this may just be it. With triple the supply, GG says Alive, as the rest of his army is stormed there. You know, First got away with the third, got away with the fourth. Alive had his upgrades behind his attack. His original attacks were really good, but the problem was that last attack to try to do up the choke point, that was just where First took a huge lead.
And that was the tipping point of the entire story that we saw on Daybreak. It was really a bad spot for Alive to be in. You should never try to attack into such a position. If you're forced to, and if you're taking a gamble trying to stim up the ramp, okay, but then staying on the ramp is definitely a big problem. I think when he realized that there's no storm on his bio, maybe he switched back into his main base and macroed it up. I don't really know what happened, but it looked to me like he was not really present at the attack at the time when the storms hit. They did way too much damage.
Yeah, they were just way too strong. I mean, when you engage with that choke point, it's never good for anyone who's in that funnel. Whether it's TVT and you've got siege tanks at the top of the ramp, Colossi, or storms at the top of the ramp, or if you're Protoss who's trying to get through that ramp when the Terran has an army on the arc, you always want to kill the rocks or go in after you know your opponent is not there. But when you know your opponent is there and you see Colossi and Storms on the other side, you can't go.
The problem is, why would you attack this? Take down the rocks, then you have at least a little bit of space to maneuver, even if there's force field. And the other thing is, you were kind of happy with the Protoss player just walking from the third to the natural back and forth the entire time, because your Vikings are in this middle ground position where they can always get a few shots off. Plus, you have to be careful as soon as you see a Templar, because you have to move back so that you don't get stormed. But he sniped 2 Colossi, I think, when First walked from his natural to the third base the first time. So this is like a really good spot for his Vikings to be.
He's not like he has to hit a timing here. So if it's not like he was going, well, I got to go now, I got to force him up here. Like you and I both said, he could have actually just backed up and fought a different time. But in the end, the Storms were good, and they were barely good because he barely had enough energy with those 2 Templar they had warped in earlier. The first one he used the Storm on, it died, and they had those 2 more Storms, and the first Storm was on Vikings, was kind of useless, but then the next 2, those were so key.
The first Storm was actually horrible. I mean, I get the idea that you want to get rid of the Vikings as soon as possible to save your Colossi, but the problem is that the Colossi were dead already. I think you have to change lobby.
Oh, yeah,
yeah, so the first Storm, they didn't really do anything to the Viking. He needs at least 2 Storms for this, and the Colossi were all dead except for 1, so this Storm could already have been used for the bio. But I think up to this point, Alive played a really decent game and played a really good game. I don't know what happened in this fight. Maybe he focused on another point of the map. Maybe he was distracted, but that turned the game.
And to me, I think scouting the third base earlier that he could have killed, or scouting the fourth base instead of attacking that choke point, send your army to the fourth while his army's at the natural, you get the fourth for free.
Ah, but still, yeah, if he plays better with his army, takes down one of the bases, maybe splits his army, doesn't really matter. He had it in his hands to maybe not decide the game, but to get a huge advantage. He decided to attack up the choke point. Something went wrong there. That was definitely not what Alive intended to do. First took advantage of the situation that unfolded in front of him. He took the present and unwrapped it with 2 Storms. Took the first game, well done. So
we're going to go in the second one on Whirlwind. Tough map for Alive.